Right, hello and welcome. This is the third tutorial of the Hypertext Markup language for web development, and the focus today will be on background, images and colour, and also setting images to display on the web page. So to start, we'll have a brief look at setting the background colour. So it's mainly done in the body tag for the entire page or in separate sections of the page to just affect a certain part, like tables for example. So we use BG color to set a single color. Well, you can use our RGB code. You can either specify it using RGB tagged, or the way a lot of people tend to use it. I'm not going to say most because I might be talking out backside. So hash and then followed by 6 digits, or 3, but 6 gives more accuracy. With the free version, the first digit refers to the intensity of red, second refers to the intensity of green, and the third refers to intensity of blue in that colour. With the 6, it is same sort of system, but every 2 digits rather than every 1. Now, if we're to save this background, it's worked, but we've set it as the exact same colour. Because all F's is white, all zeros is black, and if you set individual ones, so if you set the red to full intensity, it's obviously red. Set the green to full intensity, it becomes green, and if you set the blue to full intensity, you get a dark blue. So that is colours, but other people tend to want an image for the background. So what we're going to use for image is a background tag, so parameter, so the word background, and equals, and then the path to the image. I'm just going to use a relative path to a dummy image I've set up, so 2.jpg, save, and then fit that. It's shown the image. Now the image is just one of these squares, because if a background image isn't big enough to fill the full space, in most cases it's just tiled, so it's just replicated along the width and height of the page. The main way to get around this is to use larger images, or once we get to the CSS styling tutorials, you will be shown more ways to stretch an image or manipulate how it's shown as the background. Right, so that's the background changed. Now you can also set different individual objects. So in the body, we're now going to declare, same as in the last tutorial, a table. So open the table tag, close the table tag underneath. That was to actually put the / in, then tr to declare row, td to declare cell, / td to close the cell, td to open the second, / td to close the second cell, and then close the row. So basically you're going to have one row with 2 cells. For easiness, I'm just going to copy and paste this underneath. So it's going to change from one row with 2 cells to 2 rows with 2 cells on each. So then we're going to go, say, row 1, cell 1, leave space out, doesn't really matter, it's just an example. So row 1, cell 2, and then in this one, row 2, cell 1, and finally row 2, cell 2. Now that's just basically a table setup, more for the demonstration to give something to manipulate. So if we'll get rid of space here, so the structure's the same. So now if we hit that, the cells show, but as you know, when the table shows by default, it's just the text, no borders or anything, so it looks a bit messy. Well, not messy, but there isn't really much to it. So we're going to add some styling. So first of all, if we want to set a background for the table, we can use BG color for and background for background. So we're going to style it up a bit. So set background equals to 1.jpg. Okay, so now the entire table's got a background, which makes the table itself stand out, but still you can't see the cells that clearly. So what we're going to do now is set the actual rows separate. So within the row tags, we will set a BG color of, to stand out, we'll make it a red. So now we save that. So all the cells on the first row have become a red, and we have to do the same. If you manipulate a row, you have to do the same to other rows. So manipulating one row won't affect all the others, so you'd have to read it clear every time until we get to CSS styling. So this one color equals, we'll mix it up a bit and use a green. So yep, that's right. So save, and now hit refresh. So the blue image is for the back of the table, and the top two cells are red, the bottom two are green. You could also use the put in TD to change specific cells. So say we want to change the first cell to a white, we would do BG color equals, and in there we'll set it to white, so it's FF. Save, and then hit refresh, and the first cell's changed to white. So that's setting the background of objects. So the next point will be to add actual images. So to do that, we'll leave some space here so you can see clearly. And the only problem with it being split screen like this is the table's going on to multiple lines, which is looking slightly messy. Right, so we want to clear an image. Image is done shorthand with img tag. It's self-closing, so you end it with a / and then the greater than sign. You set the location of the image as a source parameter, which again shorthand, so src equals, and then the location of the image. You can use either relational, so where it is in compared to the web page, or absolute, clearing the full URL. I'm just going to keep it relational, so I'm going to use the same image as I used for the background of the table originally. So refresh, so it's showing the image there. So now, some images, if they don't exist, so set that to 0, which there isn't a 0 by the way, you get this, which is a sort of placeholder showing that the image link's broken, which looks a bit messy on a professional site. So what people tend to do is set up an alternative text parameter, which is alt, and then equals, and then you give a short description of the image. So in this case, image 1, and save. So now if the image doesn't exist, rather than showing the placeholder, you've got the text relating to it. So image should be here, which obviously looks a bit better than a placeholder. So that's an image shown, so I'll set that back to the correct one. So if there's alternative text but the image exists, it just shows the image. Now there's multiple ways to manipulate an image. You can set a border to it, which you can set to anything really. So we'll give a border of width 5 pixels, save, and now you notice there's a black border. Now, so if we change that to 20, it's now got, the image stayed the same but the border's increased to 20 pixels. Now there's also, you may want to change the image to a absolute one first to show the next example more, which will set to the Google logo. So www.google.co.uk. This is for UK. If America, you may be able to get away with just replacing .uk with .com or whatever your country code is, and it's logos/logo.gif. Right, so then if you save that, it's changed to Google. As you know, the image is changed because by default a image will be shown at its native size, so the bigger the image, the bigger it'll actually show. But in some cases people want to manipulate that, as the images may be shown in multiple places, wanting at multiple sizes, but so one might be too big for a certain space. So how do we sort that? We use height and width parameters. So here we're going to put height equals say 300 pixels. Right, so we save that. It's going to look a lot bigger. As you see, it's off the screen. But what it does is, if you only increased the height on its own or the width on its own, the other changes to keep the ratio the same. So the height to width ratio. But if people want to manipulate that further themselves, they can declare both the width and the height. But be careful with this, because if you take an image too far out of the ratio, it can become distorted, difficult to read, lose clarity and contrast. So we're going to give it a stupidly short width, because as you can see, the Google logo has a higher width than height, so we're going to swap that round just to show how much an image can change. And now refresh. Now there, if you know what you're looking at, you can basically make out the letters, but from a distance it won't look like the logo because it's not the right size. And again, if we were to half the width again, you can't see anything. Whereas if you swap these round, so give that to 25 and that to 300, it looks quite a bit clearer. So we'll just increase the height slightly, and there we go. So you can change the height and borders. Another important thing is, as well as you setting text links, like in the first tutorial, you may want to set links on an image. It's done the same way with text links, so you use an anchor tag, so A, and then href equals, and then you'd close the tag. Now normally you do some sort of text and then close the tag there, but because you want the image included, you close the tag after the end of the image, so the image is encapsulated within the link tags. So you close it at the end of the image, so the image is now inside the link. So if we refresh, now as you can see, the border of the image is now changed. It changes to match the colour of a normal link. So if you have visited the page before, it is purple, whereas if you haven't, it's blue. Because I haven't specified an href, it's linking to the page I'm currently on. By default it's red if it's active, so if you've clicked it. But basically, like I say, there's no link at the moment, so it's just going to refresh the current page. So we will add a link, so we'll link to Keep It in the Family, link to Google homepage, so google.co.uk, or you can put whatever your local syntax is, country code. So that doesn't look any different, but if you put your mouse over, it changes to an and cursor, which means it's clickable. And now if you click it, we are taken to the Google homepage, but the background image is different because I'm a user of Google. So Right, so, and basically if you want rid of the border, because in some cases it can get messy when you do have a border around an image, but a link because of the colour changes, so you just set the border to 0, and now the image is still a link, but there's no border for the colour to change. And that is about it for this tutorial. Thank you and see you next time.